My name, as you know, is Sharen Moodley, but my Indian name is Tavesh. I know, we're always stuck with these long names. But apparently I found out, and it means one who meditates. So perhaps I must process my mother's going through, which is going to be great. I want to thank Musa for having me here today. And to be honest with you, it was totally surprising when I get this email from this young lady that tells me she was inspired by reading this article in Destiny magazine. And the article, and the main part of the article that actually caught her, was the fact that my saying that I put in there, it says, you can choose to be good, or you can choose to be great. And I chose to be great. You know, sometimes you look back in life and you take a lot of decisions. And at some point, my English teacher used to always say that when the world is spinning, just stand still for a moment. And when you stand still and you look back, and you realize, how did I get here? But you get to that point based on the decisions you take in a specific moment and going forward. I had a 12-year-long corporate career, and I must admit, when you're young, you're out there, you're driving things, you take every opportunity, given the fact to move for a better salary, you think, hey, I'm still young. You know, I have that chance, I'm going to take it. Nothing worse than living life with regret. And ever since I was a young kid, when I was 17, they told me probably my dad was going to marry me off because I was too rebellious for an Indian woman. Because, I mean, he would tell me something about politics and I'd say, why? And when we grew up, we don't question, we're elders. So I thought the easiest way to actually get out of it was to perhaps maybe join the military. I had this passion for law, for justice. And I ended up joining the Navy at the age of 17. And I remember I went on this GI Jane thing. I cut my hair and, you know, for 2 years prior to that, I'd be training every day. I'd wake up dedicatedly at like 4 a.m. I'd run, I'd train. And the one thing I remember is when I got off that bus in the Navy, the one thing my Afrikaans instructor told me, pure deployed, never forget it. She says, you know, you Indian people, you got too much of masala in your blood. That's why you can't run. I looked at this chick, okay, I can't run. And I took a decision. But you know what? I'm going to be the best. I graduated, top of 200 women in the military. First MK Upper intake. I was the shortest, I was the buckiest, but I was the strongest because I chose to be strong. And that was a pink certificate. And I'm going a bit back, but the reason why I'm telling you is because you've got to train yourself to be the best. It doesn't just start. It's a mentality, it's a lifestyle, it's a decision. And from there, from those days, I got used to doing things differently. When they told me I couldn't sail, I was like, what's this whole thing about sailing? Because I love ships, and I never understood now how you sail. Now I discovered there were such things that just keel boats, and there was like bosuns, and the difference variety between a keel boat and a bosun was one had that jutting thing at the bottom called a keel, and the bosun had a rudder. And I was like, oh, okay, but I want to learn how to sail. And I go to the Naval Sailing Club, and I was the only woman there, funny enough. And this was an all-male thing. And I get there, and I'm like, you know, the only thing, and I pick on my culture because I know myself best. The only thing I know as an Indian was how to fish, okay? Because my dad would take me fishing in the morning from the shore, and I know how to tie a line, cast a line, everything. But I knew nothing about boats. And when I get there, I remember they all looked at me as if I was weird. They said, no, it's fine, we're going to sail. And I'd gone there with like my little shorts and my top, and thinking, nah, I'm going to ocean. So there's nothing massive, you know? And these guys are toddler with these funny things to cover their hands, these gloves. Never realized that the ropes cut you. And didn't realize you need special boots so you don't get cold in Cape Town water because it's very cold when you get wet. And you get even more cold when you're like out there for hours on the water. So by the time I got back, I'd been verbally abused by the PO. He thought I was absolutely useless, and I agreed with him 100%. And as opposed to losing my temper, I thought I'm going to blitz this man out there, and I'm prepared to jump in the ocean, swim back to shore, and for the military police to arrest me. But there's a word they call in the Navy. They say vastbyt. You know, you hang on, you keep on. So I thought, okay, I could do this, right? I came there, I was cold, I got up, that stuff. Really, really admire my language, but that's how you feel sometimes. You got to say it the way you feel it. And I get out there, and I was angry, and I walked away and checked all these guys laughing, ha 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 ha, you know? Chick can't take it. Great. And I was very angry, I shouted and I left, and I felt as if I was broken, as if they'd broken something in me. And I went to a very old man in the Navy. Now, the older people are called warrant officers. And I went to this warrant officer, and I said, can you believe these guys? We're obviously using some heavy verbal terms because you become a sailor during the time in the Navy. And he said, you know what, A.B. Moodley, because I was just an able seaman. He says, when you want to do something in life, you've got to research it. He says, you can't just pitch up there when you know nothing about it and want to become a sailor. Go out there and find out what it's about. So I went and I read about it and I spoke to a couple of the old guys because some of you find the skills base in the older people because they have the experience. And I went up there and I finally couldn't afford all these fancy gear these guys had, but I went and I got a fisherman's suit because it helped me keep dry. So I went back with the same attire I had underneath, but I put a fisherman's suit over. And I went and got gumboots, fishing gumboots, because I couldn't afford those, those Sebago-like rubber flat shoes, the white tips. And I appeared the next Wednesday for sports parade. These men looked at me. And I came back, I'm ready to try again. And there was an admiral called, well, he was a captain there, and he became an Admiral Mostert. And he looked at me, he came up to me, and this man was towering. I swear his hand was like 5 times the size of mine. Put his hand on my shoulder, and he says, A.B. Moodley. I said, yes, sir. He says, you're cut. I like that. He says, I'll train you how to sail. I said, okay. Yes, sir, no problem. I became the Admiral's pet. Nobody touched me, I was untouchable. Then I found out about hierarchy. This is how I learned at 17 about hierarchy, eh? And it's who you know and how you utilize that skills based in that network. I was learning these things, but I didn't know the terminology then to back up the lessons. And basically, what I did was, I put everything into sailing. In 2 years, I became naval champ, sailing on bosuns. By year 3, I was nominated to sail on the Cape to Rio team. Now you see, like in the movies, when you dress up in your whites and you sit in front of this board, it really does happen in real life, except that they come in South African accents. Okay? Yeah, you can't say that. And basically, they sit there and they ask me, why do you want to do this? I said, because I earned it. I want to have that moment. I want to be the first Naval woman in history to sail the Cape to Rio, because there's never been a Naval woman. And being Indian, I want to be the first Indian woman to make a point that Indian women can run and we can sail. How's that for you? In the Navy. And I did. I got my dream. For 6 months, I was taken out of the Women's Serving Unit, which I was in public relations, and I ended up training with a group of guys that I got to know. I got to learn my brothers. And we sailed the Cape to Rio. And we came out first in our class, because in Nottingham we got different classes, but we came out 5th overall. And that's one of my most defining moments in my life. And that's what was my claim to fame initially. When I came out to Johannesburg, I joined the corporate environment. Because obviously now you're used to that. You want that pace. You realize that military is a lot about conformity, but very similar also to the corporate environment, but more slower in terms of how you can move. And I found myself lodged into corporate. I'm going to fast track a bit to tell you how I came to be where I am. At the end of my 12 years, I found myself heading up the marketing division for SAP. And I was the head of SME, specifically focusing on roll-up into Africa. At the age of 27, I was there. So I reckon, I calculated, by the age of 31, I'd be director. So I had my plan. I'm always like that, planning ahead, saying, I'm going to get there. I'm very ambitious. And then I got married for the second time. Fell in love. You know? It's a good and a bad thing, depending how you look at it, but this is a positive conference, right? So I take my lessons out of falling in love. And I took a personal decision, it was my decision, to actually give up my 12-year corporate career and kind of pursue it more than the entrepreneurial side in terms of wanting to own my own business and a husband that was strong, was willing to stand by me. I wanted another little baby because I got a 7-year-old and I've got a 2-year-old. And I thought, no, I'm going to do this, you know? And it was easy because I had such a good reputation that I found I was getting work by referrals from directors of the board from previous companies. I don't know, hey, getting business things building up slowly and, you know, I had my second baby, and it's always harder as well when you have a baby you get work afterwards because you take a little break just before you have a kid. And I found myself that the market was getting slower. And at the same time, my personal life was taking a bit of a knock.